James Islay, this is amazing to have you on the Sales Confidence podcast. It's been incredible to see your journey over the last few years. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for inviting me, James.
Just before we kick off the interview, I just want to introduce you to the audience. Firstly, I want to say thank you. Thank you to James, because James was the very first person that signed a check for Sales Confidence. So we went back all those years ago to South London, where I met James Islay, and he gave me his vision for Cognism. Now, Cognism is a B2B outbound prospecting platform. And since those years, and they've now grown into a business that is turning over 8.5 million per year. And they recently have been funded into how many millions have you got funded, James?
The total round size was 20 million if you include the peak span and the AXA investments. Yeah.
That's incredible. So they've had over $20 million dollars of funding, and it's been a business that has been proudly flying the flag here in the UK, and I've seen it right from the beginning. So James, it's incredible to have you on here as a founder and CEO. I guess this is pretty unique because traditionally I've done these podcast interviews sitting opposite my guests. So this is the first time that we're doing it over a piece of technology online. But I'm really happy to have you on board, and I'm happy to take the audience through this interview. I guess just in your world right now, and I appreciate that we're having this conversation in COVID times, but what's got you most excited in recent times, despite what's happening?
We've just done an acquisition. So for us, for me, this is also about learning, right? Becoming I'm a first-time CEO, really. So learning. I've just got an incredible new mentor, Peter Defferent, who's scaled and had a number of companies acquired, and now I'm moving to the next level of Cognism, moving to the next level of acquiring other companies and then integrating them into our services. So that's incredibly exciting to get involved with new products, to get involved with other teams that build their own products, and to then scale and build to that next bigger level company. And then, also the company we acquired had 350 clients in Germany. So it just new markets and new ways of thinking about customers and pricing models and all of that. So it's always been exciting, and I think it's just great to see the next stage, and acquire that organic growth, building a richer kind of C-suite team, that's energizing, to just get to the next level and just get to the next level of organization.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's been amazing to see, in that time period that we first started working together, just the scale of the Cognism team. And I think we'll talk about it as we go through the conversation, but culture has been a large part of that. But you mentioned there, this CEO and kind of a first-time CEO. I guess, therefore, as a CEO, what's typically the first thing you generally think about when you wake up in the morning?
I suppose it's when I'm super organized. It's really the getting a list of things that I want to get done today, right? Like overall, I have a plan for the week. We have a plan for the month. We have larger plans. But there's only a certain number of things you can really get nailed that are important. So it's like having a top priority and making sure that top priority gets done, and not losing focus on your top priority, because you got to see your strategic goals. Your strategic goals are going to move the needle, and they're going to move the company forward. So yeah, it's just having a plan, right? And then not letting the flow of email traffic direct your day, or the ad hoc issues that you as a CEO, you got to really keep your focus on strategic goals and making sure that they get implemented. And so that for me is important, so that you can kind of work through the noise, to take the company to the next level.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear, and it's amazing to understand how you focus each day. Thinking about this journey that you've embarked on, Where's that inspiration and motivation come from? Like, why even bother with this, James? Like, why did you get inspired to build the company that you're now have built? Because you've got it this far, and you're going to continue to develop.
Well, I mean, I was a trader before this. So I was trading oil, German power, carbon. I'm writing computer systems that traded the markets. Like that was my job. And I had a friend that had started a company that was in the fintech space. It was seen as a unicorn at the time, and I went to visit them, and they had just received their funding round, and they had this like the most incredible office I've ever seen in London, and it was just hugely energizing. Like I went for I was working for like a Swiss utility, like very low energy in the office space, lots of office politics, all that kind of stuff, to this environment where everybody's like super focused on the business, highly energized. And so I just felt that I wanted to feel that energy. I wanted to feel that kind of inspiration, like that passion, because it was just, it was highly motivating, just even being in their office. And you can kind of feel that in a company that's like, everybody's got direction, and they're super excited about the performance and where they're going. So that was the initial inspiration, and then that friend offered to fund me for to get going, and that just gave me that little bit of confidence to kind of go ahead. And so and then I just basically began the journey. And then being a bit of a workaholic, it's just once you lay out plans and goals, then you naturally as long as you keep adjusting when things don't work out, and then things kind of just naturally roll forward. That's what I found.
Amazing. Well, it's proved fruitful. Did you ever? I mean, you must have believed. You said you got the confidence to start, but could you imagine back then? Where you are now, like the scale of business that you've got, the level of funding. Was it obvious to you, or was it hopeful? How does it feel like sitting there now, thinking what you've achieved so far?
Yeah, I rarely step back and think about like where are we now? Like we just are where we are, right? Generally been just working on what's the next big problem, and then it naturally evolves. We have a financial plan which is all planned out. We plan from the revenue right down to the number of SDRs that we need, right? So and then work that backwards, and that has helped us. Like literally, we hardly ever miss a goal, like a revenue target. So the like we have it all planned out in a financial plan, but in terms of like saying okay, this is like exactly how the structure of the company looks and all that, that's just evolved. And then you hit different stages of evolution, and then you have to change structures, communication structures, people in the company to get to the next level, and that just almost naturally happens, or the company breaks, right? But if you've got a good set of advisors on the board, and I guess like if you're a shop CEO and you're getting the feedback from the system and the metrics that are telling you what to do, then a lot of books and podcasts from leaders say like a lot of these problems occur again and again. A lot of the challenges that you face are the same across all different companies. So it's just a question of, did you meet the challenge or not? Did the people scale? Did you get the right training, the right mentorship, and the right advice to not make a critical error? And that so far we're doing pretty well there.
Well, personally, we talk a lot about confidence, sales confidence, and having difficult times. I guess you must have faced some challenges, and we're having this conversation in arguably the most challenging time in our recent history. Like, how have you kind of got through the more difficult days? Is there an approach that you take? Is there a system where you get out of the house, or are you just getting on with it? Like, how have you got through some of the difficult days that we've faced in recent times?
Yeah, I think in general it's cracking on with it. I mean, it's having a plan and just following the plan, right? Like if you go, I think you get more lost if you don't have a plan that you can follow, and then you can get more disorientated and more kind of it's just hard to recover, right? If you don't really know what direction you're going in, at least. I mean, we adjust when you have like this period's quite unique, right? So we adjusted our plan, and based on the way that business dropped off, we adjusted all our forecasts and everything to make sure that cash position wise, all that kind of stuff, we felt secure in what we were doing. So yeah, I mean, generally it's down to planning, and then I suppose like otherwise, I've got a good mentor, good board to talk to, so it's good to get advice from people that have been there before. I think that's super important, especially for a first-time CEO. But in general, I think it should be that like there always. You should always kind of have a mentor and somebody that's had far more experience than you, so you can go and talk to them about your specific issues and problems. And then you've just got like you then don't have problems running around your head. You've got them out of your head. Somebody's provided you advice back, and then you can work towards a solution. Whereas sometimes you can just get stuck because you've got a problem running around your head. So I think the mentors of having good mentors throughout this journey, from a business sense, has really helped me get to the next level. And then generally good relationships with your colleagues that you're working with. I mean, especially a startup is a it's a journey, and it's good to have a good set of friends on that journey with you. So that's been great to this point. I think I've got great relationships with everybody in the senior team, and we've got like good respect for one another, and that's made it easy.
That's great. So, thank you for sharing. For people that haven't come across Cognism before, just simply, what does it do? What value proposition do you offer businesses in the market?
Sure. So we help companies find new business. So we have a B2B data and prospecting platform all in one, where people can build their audiences, and they could just use that data, like give me all the heads of sales in London who are hiring SDRs right now. So rather than go on a LinkedIn and then just say, give me all of the heads of sales in London, which you can do in LinkedIn, the big difference for me was building the event dimension, so that you could get more specific, more targeted, and that audience was more likely to engage. So that was where the original idea of Cognism came from. And then really what we also did on top of that was then provide the tools to engage that data, so that you could actually get new business straight away from the data. So yeah, that's our main solution. And now we bought another company called Mailtastic, which is really about email signature marketing. And that's another way for you that if you have an existing audience, or you're doing cold outreach, that you can use that space to get more engagement and to drive product awareness or drive webinar awareness. And we use that very successfully ourselves for webinar awareness.
Amazing. For you now, what's the vision? What's the vision, your North Star for Cognism? Where do you want to take this business?
I think right now, we've been evolving, and that the aim is to really just get to the next scale, to grow revenue 100% plus per year. That's our kind of target. We had a fantastic year last year. We went from about 2.5 million to 7 million in revenue. Initially, our target was to go from 17 to 14 plus this year. COVID slowed us down a little bit, but not a lot. So I'm still hoping to have a very strong end to the year. Potentially towards the 12 million mark. So maybe higher if everything goes well, and we get back to our original target. So the aim is just to keep that growth. I'm incredibly proud of the jobs that we're creating in the UK. There isn't that many marketing technology companies in Europe, right? Or companies of this scale. So just building a company that's European wide as well, that can compete globally in the United States, for instance, which is what we're doing now. That's super exciting, and it's it's a gigantic market, the market that we're in, and so the opportunities there. It's just actually the biggest problem is just building a well-structured, well-functioning company. Like that is the hardest challenge. It's not that the market's there. It doesn't matter about competition because the market's so huge. People are changing tools all the time. So it's just like it's very difficult to build a scaled company that's even getting to 1 million in revenue is incredibly challenging, and then scaling beyond that is super challenging. So right now that's where my focus is, just keep scaling it, keep growing it, get to the next level, and then see where ultimately that journey takes us.
That's exciting. It's often been noted that as a former trader, you're not the typical individual that appears they would hang out with sales professionals. But obviously, you've had to learn to love our audience and the culture of sales. But I just wonder, James, with all the salespeople that have contributed to your growth, what do you think makes a standout successful sales professional?
Well, actually, just I guess like history. My stepfather like a like mobile phone salesperson, so and car phones and things like that. So I kind of grew up in a sales culture. There's a great John Cleese video where it goes through all the different personality types to sell to from the 80s, which I watched as a kid. So maybe that's a little bit where my inspiration came from. I was also in sales at UBS, doing metal financing and option sales. So I had a bit of experience in sales. And what makes a great salesperson? I mean, I guess where we are in volume sales, right? It's somebody that's got good communication, that works hard, right? And that listens to get feedback, to get better at pitching, better giving demos, can understand. For me, it's like understanding the moments where they capture attention, right? Like that, there needs to be like some connection to the person that you're speaking to. You've got a very short time period to communicate why they should even listen to you, and then why what you're selling has got value. So there needs to be these like wow moments, and there needs to be you need to communicate the value. So that communication, good communication, and hard work, I think makes a great salesperson.
Yeah, no, I agree. And especially in this world where we're not interacting with people in person, creating those wow moments over the phone or over some kind of webcam is really, really important. Now, I know that, there's been expansion into the US. What have you noted? And you know that market very well because you compete with a lot of US based tools. What do you see the differences between the markets in the UK and the US, or the UK and Europe and the US?
We've had a very successful launch in the US. I think part of that was that we took one of our key people, Chris, who was the head of customer success, and moved him over to running the office there. I'd spoke to a lot of CEOs from the UK, and they had, a lot, especially ones that had not made that successful, and they made the mistake of like hiring senior salespeople there and trying to build like a sales process from scratch, and then you get issues with company culture, you get issues with having a very expensive person who's actually not pounding the pavement and actually selling. It's very hard to get sales systems up and running, which I found. And when we've just done an acquisition, again, that just getting the sales system up and running, and then hiring into it, and because that's the key moment, right? And so it's not solved by just hiring one person. It's solved by hiring few of the right individuals and actually getting them working and actually getting metrics out of them. So that that's the key thing. From a pure metrics point of view, we're getting like the same performances from the US people. There's a cost difference to hiring there. There's there's more competition. But competition's like one of the least important factors we found. The most important factor is about you actually building sales capacity, you actually doing activity, you actually doing the calls, right? Those are the most important things. If you're failing on those areas, then competition is going to take a fraction of that away from you. If you need to get just the system running, the activities going, the calls, the meetings, understanding why the conversion rates, why are conversations turning into meetings? How are meetings turning into sales qualified opportunities? Why are these things falling down? Are you hitting the right audience? Are you got the right message for the audience? That's where you're gonna fail, right? And that's where the differences are going to be. And you just need to dig in very quickly into those factors to make sure that this is becoming successful. Because there's always, especially in our market where you've got such a huge total addressable market, there's always a niche where the competition isn't like present, and you can always you just got to identify that and then you'll have high conversion rates throughout the whole sales funnel. I think it's just building the system and doing the analytics on the system that makes it work.
No, this exciting. Is there certain technologies or technology that or innovation that is at the forefront of how you're developing your solution? I'm thinking kind of AI or machine learning that you've adopted or that you're seeing in the marketplace, which you think is going to define some of the future of kind of MarTech or sales tech.
Yeah, I mean, ourselves, right? We deploy machine learning to just structure data better and then improve the quality of data, the understanding of data. I think that's a trend that's starting to fall into lots of different products to make the data cleaner and the searches and how you access information easier and better. I mean, just in general, I think the big trend is the actual like sales operations, revenue operations, knowledge. We're going from in the US, they've always been more ahead of us in terms of sophistication of sales systems and data pooling and all of that to generate better revenue engines. And in the UK, that's where we need to catch up on, is having dedicated specialized staff to generate to actually put the right technology together in the right way to generate that constant all the analytics and have the right data to get the right message to the right audience at the right time, so that you have this very smooth flowing high revenue growth engine. So I think that's what the change will be in the UK, is just that catching up with the US and just having revenue ops people that are actually building better infrastructure for SDRs and BDMs, sales leaders, so that they can get they can target better and then convert better.
That's really interesting. This is really interesting. So we're going to move into the last part of the conversation now, a bit more insight about some of the things that you do to stay motivated and confident. Like, you touched on it earlier, but I just wonder more historically. And you mentioned there your stepdad, your own experiences of the sales profession, but do you feel there's a root in you? Is there somewhere in your DNA where your confidence comes from? Is it family orientated? Is it from school? Is it from your success earlier in your career? Where do you think that belief and confidence comes from for you?
So I mean, I've got like a great wife and family to support me. So that's always been a good anchor in life. So yeah, a wife and 3 children. That's one thing. I think I'm a little bit of a workaholic, I would say. I'm trying to find more of a work-life balance at the moment, and just being driven, and then I suppose caring about the thing that you're working on. I think that's the main thing. If you have a passion for a company is like your child, right? It's like a 4th child, and you feel about it in the same way that you feel about a child, and so you want to pour all the love and care into it and see it grow, and so just as generally for most people, like in the same way that you put time and effort into your children, you don't even think about it, right? It's just a natural behavior, and I think it's the same with founders and their companies, that it's a natural thing to just want to see this business grow and to see it successful. So that's I would say that's kind of a big driver. I don't want it to fail, and all the staff I have, and the careers that you're providing for them, and the opportunities you're providing for them, all of that, helps anchor everything and gives you passion for what you're doing.
Amazing to hear. I'm just thinking about when people might be listening to this, and I look forward to us doing a podcast interview in a year's time to see how things may have changed. But right now, we are in the midst of a bit of a pandemic, and we're all having to overcome certain challenges. Do you have any advice for people how they can feel a bit more confident or a bit better about themselves during these times, or any inspiration that you might have used with your company employees that you would share with the listeners?
We're in a strange time where especially if you're a social person, this is like an antisocial virus that's basically killing our social lives, and so it can be I suppose it kind of sets in a kind of a depression on every aspect of life, and then the question is like, how do I make myself happy? How do I, it's not a bad time for change, right? I got to a point in my career, like when I founded Cognism, I wasn't happy. I was doing my job, I wasn't really enjoying it, and so it's kind of a scary moment to step out and make a change, right? But like that change can make you a lot happier, and that that's the one thing, is not to be scared of change, and not. I mean, most it's important to know that when you start a business or you do take on a new venture, like the failure rates, right? 9 out of 10 businesses fail, right? But then you learn a lot of lessons from that, and you can do the next thing, and you'll the journey can be incredibly fun, especially if you do it with people that you get on with, and that share the burden with you. So I would say look at potentially making that change, like making some change in your aspect of your life, and then just not being too afraid of that, and that I've seen that like in general when people have kind of worked on a project for too long, they just need a change, just to lift them back into a happier place, and so just take the leap and do it.
That's great advice. It's brave advice. James, this has been an absolute pleasure. We should have done this a lot sooner. I know that you've been kicking me to do more online activations in the 3+ years now that we've been spending time together. I think anybody listening, you need to go and check out, learn more about James, learn more about Cognism. It's a key tool in the sales stack now for companies that want to generate new leads and accelerate their revenue growth through new business. It's been amazing, the support that Cognism's given me personally, and also sales confidence as a business. So I'm excited to build on this for the future. So let's call that a wrap, and thank you very much for being part of the show, James.
Thanks for inviting me, James.